You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. And now your footwear insiders, Matt Priest and Andy Polk.
Have yourself a merry little shoe-in. I hope your shoes fit.
My Christmas spirit is now gone.
Folks, welcome to Shoe In Show. It's Andy Polk. It's Matt Priest. It's Jasmine Pendergrass.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us and being loyal listeners to our podcast. We are focusing on all things footwear, peeling back all the layers to take an inside look at the industry and things changing it, things happening. We do retail, we do compliance, we do trade, we do sourcing, we do design, we do everything.
And then.
As we start to transition from 2018 into the new year, we are taking a look back at some of the key trends that impacted our industry and will continue to impact our industry. But we focused on sustainability in one of the last episodes, and in this episode, in the same way, there's a buzzword or a keyword that keeps coming up, and this trend keeps coming up, this idea of digitization. And
let's get digital. I want to get digital with you. Let me see your digits talk. Your digits talk.
I mean, what year did that song come out?
Like a decade before you were born.
It's like,
literally,
I know
I
that
think
song.
in 82.
Yeah.
That was a foreshadowing of the internet. That was
absolutely.
actual digitization. So
I think she was doing jazzercise in the video.
She was. It's awesome. She was healthy. If today's digitization are a bunch of nerds sitting in front of the compuher gaming, right? And they're not that healthy.
Not at all.
Not all. You know,
they're vaping.
Sure some are or whatever.
Eating bonbons is terrible for you.
That took a dark turn. Bonbons. Oui, oui. J'adore digitization. With the bonbons? Sign me up. Anyway, so digitization is another word, just like sustainability. That's it's like Max. Oh, it's like this could not happen with the 56K modem. Yeah, and honestly,
or on any self-respecting podcast.
That's true. Well, good thing we're not self-respecting.
Exactly.
And no one respects us either. So
exactly.
We're the Rodney Dangerfield of podcasts. There's no respect here, right? But the 56K modem kind of leads into this other thing of 5G, right? And we haven't even got into this, and people don't. Right. I don't even know it's on people's radar, but the internet speeds that we have, are about to. I can't even quantify how much faster it's going to be, but basically, it's going to change how the internet works with our smartphones and devices and everything. And all that stuff, It's going to. I mean, the speeds are going to be amazing, and then what you can do with it, right? So it creates a platform where you can see a lot more VR, AR, like technologies we can't even think about right now. Right. So it's going to thrust us into a whole new kind of realm of digitization personally. But for our industry, digitization is kind of taking the old process we have and trying to figure out how to create efficiencies by having a visual representation of shoes or designs or whatever it is, rather than having a physical sample or product in our hands. And even in stores, having a digital representation in stores that people can try on, where it's
something tells me that you and three of your friends got together and had a conversation about this, and somehow we recorded it.
We did.
In your mom's basement.
You are very smart. This is the smartest Shoe In Show person on the show. Matt Priest, everyone.
Doesn't say a lot.
It wasn't in the basement.
No.
This also comes from our sourcing summit. We went back and looked at all our different events, and we're very thoughtful and critical about our events because we actually want them to provide solutions. We don't put on events to make money. This is not an enterprise. There are a lot of businesses out there that try to make money off events, and that's their model. Fine, good for you.
And they're for profit.
They're for profit, and sometimes when you're for profit, it means that your content is not that great.
No, it's not.
So for profit could be, very bad content.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go to these events, people.
But we went back and we're trying to find some key themes throughout the year that really are driving change, and will continue to. and we wanted to have deeper conversations, and we did record kind of a conversation on digital development, digital design at our sourcing summit this year. And so we have the clip, we're going to roll it, and it is a deep dive, and it's different angles of that. So we think you'll really enjoy it. We think we'll get something out of it, hopefully. Beep, boop, boop, beep, beep, boop, boop, boop. And we'll continue to talk about these things, but I think we need to have more conversations like you're about to hear on this idea of digitization for our industry. So let's roll it. One of the key things that are happening now in our industry is this whole digital transformation. It's like the buzzword that everybody's trying to talk about and get to. There's a lot of confusion as to what that is, how you implement something meaningful without spending huge amounts of capital. How can you get your executives to buy into something like that? And so I'm excited to have this panel today of experts who have different components of that digitization field. So we have Romans CAD, who you saw a little bit of example of about 3D design. So that component of your design team, your development team having a PDM, which is the database aspect. You have XRITE, which is doing some really innovative things in terms of material scans. They also have the color, the Pantone, right, is the core thing what many people may think of when you think of XRITE. But they're doing some really amazing things where you can scan in the material and you can actually zoom in down to a very small level and look at different materials in a variety of different ways. And then we have Scott Labby on stage with us, who's just left Wolverine, but spent the last 2 years of developing their 3D programs and implementing that in Asia and changing their whole process. So we've got some really good guys up here today to talk a little bit about this. I'm going to start maybe with Scott, and then we'll work around the way. And then we'll definitely want questions. So as you think and you have questions in your mind, after we go through a few rounds of questions here to tee up things, please ask questions. Scott, we talked a little bit about the past 2 years of you helping build a robust digital program. So maybe you can share the benefits, some of the pitfalls. I think we always learn more from our mistakes, but some of the problems that you guys had, maybe how you got buy-in from the company, and just talk about some easy wins that small brands here, medium brands, even large brands, what are some quick things that people can think about doing within these programs? So both how you started the transformation, a little bit about quick wins. Just talk.
The good, the bad, the ugly, right? So quite an interesting journey over the past couple of years with PLM and PDM. Absolutely, probably some of the quick wins to get past that tick right away is of course, as a lot of people state, the North Star, which is what you're all aiming towards, having that one digital database that encompasses everything from images, details, units of measure, pricing, costing, contact infos. That's all extremely important. If we all had that at your fingertips, life would, of course, be a lot easier, and you can slickly get in from design to implementation, T1 through T4 stages quite easily. Not the case for most of us in this audience, so without overselling it, Material Exchange is going in that direction, which we'll talk more about. But the quick wins, I think, and what we achieved is trying to at least get a database that would encompass what all we have in our bill of materials. When you're in a big company with multiple brands, you can have over 1 million line items, ranging from top line cord reinforcement tapes to, of course, core leathers and core meshes. It's important to really wrap your hands around that, bring transparency and visibility to the table so that you know exactly who your supply chain is, who you're paying or not, and what's actually living in those bill of materials that represent your 20-odd million or thousands of SKUs that exist. So it's important to note that in order to make this work and be successful, it needs to come from the top in terms of support. There is investment that needs to be made, time, resources, software seats, of course, and a team that's going to specifically be only invested into that digital front end. If you try to cross-pollinate between your part-time job of being a designer or a developer or an engineer and trying to implement an onboard PDM or PLM of that nature, it's probably not going to be the most successful endeavor in your career. So it's important to build the infrastructure. I had a great time in Hong Kong for 2 years developing a team of 50 some odd people that was segmented into different parts that would just focus on the different parts. So in a PDM 3D engineering environment, you have the engineering piece from last, you have the molds and the outsole, the midsole, then you have the upper piece that's really important. Those were built into 3 different groups along with a materials team that basically is not your typical conventional material team, but a material team that has that mindset of what we're going to hear you guys discuss in terms of scanning and building that into a cloud methodology. Building that infrastructure is sincerely important because you need to make the tools easier for the designers and the developers and the line builders to build their product. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. How can you accomplish speed to market? How can you accomplish at your fingertips a virtual library that's going to give all your needs and wins to that case? So easy wins are building that material library so that there's transparency, you can negotiate better, you can consolidate in a more meaningful way, and you can give that that platter for the designers and developers to choose from to be able to develop and design and innovate as they wish. Some of the pitfalls would be, again, some brands are more difficult than others in terms of their product. So meaning that if you're in a lifestyle/fashion environment, it can be more challenging because you go through more materials on demand, more materials ad hoc that will be coming your way, and then using technology as we can with your company would make life easier. But again, the challenging parts are the fast-moving, several seasonal brands will have a much more difficult time embracing and immersing themselves in the 3D world, as opposed to a running brand or a performance utilitarian brand. Did that answer your questions?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. I'll jump straight to Bruce real quick, and we'll talk a little bit about. You said what was important was material library, setting up that material library. So XRITE has technologies and systems that can help scan those things into a library. So we'll start with that, and then we'll talk about the actual library in a second. But Bruce, let's talk a little bit about XRITE and what you guys are doing. I think some people may not even realize that you can scan materials and pull those visualizations into a database. And then what that means for visualization for CADs and other things like that. So maybe explain a little bit about the technology and how some of the brands you guys work with, what are they using it for? And just a little bit of the details about how you think this is the next thing that brands really need to start taking advantage of.
Great, thank you. XRITE Pantone is 2 companies, and most people, when I talk to them, understand who Pantone is. They're all about color specification. XRITE's all about color measurement. And 10 years ago, we determined that there's beyond color, and that was determining correct appearance. And correct appearance for materials became a real passion for us, so we put our color scientists to work to develop a format for that. About the same time, the automotive industry came to us and said, we need some way to measure the materials that we're building for the interiors and the exteriors of our cars. Build us something for this. So we built them a system to their spec. And it's something that's designed to scan materials, whether they're painted, whether they're dyed, whether they're knit, whatever, to give them the full texture, the color, transparency if it has it. And so we built this system and they bought it. Most of the companies won't let us tell the world who has them because they want to have that secret weapon themselves. But after you've sold to most of the car companies in the world, you start looking for other markets. And that's when we said, well, who else could use a materials scanning system? And that led us to three industries that we're looking at: footwear, fashion, and furniture. All are somewhat interrelated in the use of materials. We realized very quickly on, or at least I did in my sales position, that I knew I'll say almost next to nothing about footwear when I started talking to people.
Same with me.
Luckily, 2 things happened. First thing was going to the Magic Show, and I managed to, by accident, find an instructional facility called Pensole Footwear Design Academy out in Portland. Same time, I also found out about the FDRA summits. So that's given me a background in terms of trying to understand what you're doing. And what I can see happening is that there's 3 areas. There's footwear design, there's footwear manufacture, and there's footwear sales. Our system is really aimed at the front and the back end. We're aimed at the design side, we're aimed at the sales side. We make a scanning system to capture the materials. We make a visualization system to allow people to quickly demonstrate and sell the product before it ever gets physically made. The hard part is in the middle, and that's what these people are experts at, and we're not. Our job is to try to build a file format that people can use and then cooperate with all the different vendors who are involved, whether it's a PLM system, whether it's the material manufacturers themselves. We're just trying to cooperate in this world and learn how giving somebody a digital twin for a material can help them do faster, better, fewer iterations, shorten the cycle time, all that great stuff that you alluded to in your presentation.
Right. So basically, you have a scanner that scans this material. You pull it into a software program. Once it's in the software program, it's high-end software that you could scale it, you could change it, you could see different aspects of it.
Right, and then that file can be used with any 3D rendering software that you have, and it's going to show you the way that material behaves at any angle, under any lighting condition, in any environment. So
Right.
if you're doing a rendering and you want to see what this is going to look like in a real-world situation,
Right.
we give you the material that can do that.
Are you guys showing again at Platform this year, or what's an upcoming show that you guys are showing at that people
Well,
might be at?
we'll be demonstrating the system at SIGGRAPH in Vancouver.
Okay.
I'll be attending the materials show in Portland, and we have a system set up at Pensol in Portland. So anyone who's at the materials show coming up in August,
Yep.
It's a fairly large system.
Yeah,
We can't schlep
Right,
it around everywhere.
exactly.
So
It is fascinating to see. I tried it out at the last platform, and you can scan it, you move it over to a machine, and you can see the visualization almost. It's really fascinating. And I know we'll try to do we'll set up a webinar to go more in depth about the systems.
one other thing, we also have a facility set up right beside Grand Central Station on Park Avenue. So there's physical demonstration facilities available both in New York
Okay.
and in Portland.
Okay, so they can reach out to you to set up a time to see that.
Yes.
Great. All right, mon ami.
Bonjour.
Comment ça va?
Ça va?
When we think about CADs, it's very interesting. Some people are really, all in and they know this is the future, and other people are just like, it costs too much or it's too difficult, or they're a little bit afraid. So calm our fears. Use your nice French accent to calm our fears a bit. Explain to us a bit about the benefits of CAD. Explain how it works. Talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you have with brands and some of the benefits. So just talk a bit about,
First of all, when we talk today, you heard about a lot of things. Data management, PLM, PDM, 3D CAD, XRITE, color. So I must assume for you, it's very difficult to make a choice. So, Romans CAD story started 25 years ago with shoe people in France from Romans, the city of the luxury shoes. Jourdan, Clergerie, Kélian. They commissioned us to develop this product 25 years ago. That's what we got. But it's just more than a CAD product. It's a complete platform to do the automation. Today, when you choose a footwear, Andy was showing the website. Go on an e-commerce website now. It's a real 3D model you can have. You can change the different components. So now the consumer is becoming the designer. We're putting a lot of pressure to the brand and to the factory. So now what we have to do is to talk from fashion to factory. That's what we've been doing over the year. We have integrated a bunch of solutions. We have integrated the last making. We have integrated the 3D sketch design, the 3D full CAD design. We have integrated 2D pattern, 2D nesting. Even we have a project with a sport company to send the data to the shop floor, to the robots. So now you are really talking about a complete solution, what I call the footwear information model. Andy was mentioning about the material database, and you might think, where does it go? But that's a very good news, because imagine you try to implement such solution as Romans CAD. It's time-consuming to build a database, let's be honest. With this guy, you go there, we have what we call a connector, and you will swallow the material database from FDRA, and you will save time. And also there are issues like, okay, I need special price, but I would say the material database from FDRA will have 80% of the information, I would call public information.
Correct.
We will get the private information. Okay, then because obviously you guys negotiate special price, obviously you don't want to publish that to the world. So today we are talking platform, we are talking collaboration. Something happened in other industry. Automobile industry, aerospace industry, There is no way if you want to work for Airbus or Boeing, if you're not connected to the CATIA platform, you're out of business. Automobile, the same. And people say in the footwear industry, say, yeah, but automobile is very structured. Footwear is different because we have the designer and the factory, the brand, they're different. Look at the building industry. It's the same. You have an architect, designer, they do the design, the spec, they send the spec to the general contractor. So it's kind of, and they are going into the same digital process.
Yeah.
Everything is changing in the building industry.
So you have the platform, you have the Romans CAD platform that people can get. But what's the challenge in terms of education? How do people get to that?
As I say, the biggest problem, and I'm traveling to Bangladesh, to India, the biggest problem to implement this solution is the lack of knowledge and competency of people.
Right.
This is it's not the competition. It's good to have competition. It's keep you young. Now, the real problem is the lack of people and the knowledge.
Right.
So how to implement the solution? Do it smoothly.
Right.
Look for designers who are not necessarily in the footwear industry. I know a company in Vietnam. They are one of our customers. They are an Adidas subcontractor. There is an English guy, the Royal Shoe Dog.
Yeah.
He hired 6 young guys. They don't know about footwear, but they know about the tools. They know about design tools. They know how to design a furniture, a car, and it's always good to mix. To mix different ideas, different concepts.
Yeah. I guess another good question that we could ask both Scott and you on this is this idea that CADS is for your designers here in the U.S. and I think one of the key things that I've seen over the past couple of years is you guys are going into factories, convincing factories that they need to set up CADs as well, so that you have a complete system where your design team's talking to that team back and forth, so they can pull it in, they can do the sampling right, do all these things. So maybe let's talk a bit about that too. This is we may think of it as American-centric, as we often do, but really this is. Brands in the U.S. are going to have huge competition in the coming years from Chinese companies doing this and obtaining speed to market with this program, while brands here are left behind. And then further, the factories. The factories are starting to adopt to this, or should adopt to this. Is that a quick and easy? I guess too. Another question is it a quicker and easier win to have the factory set that up now, before the brand does, or do they have to do it together? What these are,
Huge. This part's huge, and I failed to mention it in my first conversation. But not only should you build the infrastructure of where your sourcing is, so in most cases it happens to be Asia, but you also have to convince the board of directors to invest. That's a challenge, but tick that box. But the most important part is ensuring that your supply chain, that you built a sourcing strategy that's going to ensure that the supply chain will support the efforts of PDM, Romans CAD, engineering, and that whole paradigm shift. So we went on a tour, two of us, to 27 of our development factories that are currently developing our product for the brands in my past life. And what happened was, once we showed them the benefits, the ROIs, not just from a financial piece, but from the speed to market piece, they're all on board. And proud to say 26 out of 27 called this guy up and ordered all their seats. So that was
He's
the
a
part.
smooth talker.
And you do need that part first. So to answer your question directly, you have to build the infrastructure first and have the people in place on your team, as well as the factories in place. Ensure that your sourcing strategy matches your development and speed to market strategy. But then quickly, you need to ensure the brands are on board and that they're also going to be on a day-to-day basis immersing themselves. In terms of talent and skill sets, it is unfortunately most of the younger folks,
right? Because
that is what they teach in college right now. And
sure,
everyone leaving college is learning 3D as standard.
But that's okay for now, isn't it? If you've got a designer who's been there for 30 years and can get the right trend and design it, you can take that and give it to someone and render it, right? That's a solution that you can do. You can hire a firm to do the 3D CAD for you quickly now as you build in that.
But there's science behind it. So unless you're a pattern maker or an old school shoe dog and understand where the points go onto the shell pattern and or the last, you have to take that pattern 101 green making mindset, or you're spending all your time in Asia correcting all of the beautiful designs they're doing.
Let's not do that.
There's a fine line between ensuring the skill sets are there, which the common millennial has that skill set,
Sure.
but then the shoe experience of understanding where to place the parts and pieces.
Okay. Let's talk a bit about kind of, I showed some augmented reality. There's been virtual reality sampling, things like that. Can a company just jump to that and start using that without having these platforms? Can we just skip it completely? I mean, I guess the question really is we need to develop these platforms so that we can get to the future of what these things are, I'm guessing. But my guess is, to do the right virtual reality, the right augmented reality, you can build platforms and systems, but it really does come back to the basis. If you can't get your databases right and you can't get your scans right and those things, it's harder to get to these futuristic things that may be normal in 10 years. I don't know.
Maybe you can do it in VR. Like what we do, it's really a 3D model for manufacturing.
Yeah.
So you need to have the precision for manufacturing. Sometimes when you go on e-commerce website, you see 3D model, but they're not CAD model. They're just picture. So that would assume for virtual reality, it's the look which is important, not the precision of the model. So yeah, maybe you can do VR without doing any CAD because they're not feeling the same problem, answering the same question.
Yeah. What do you guys think about VR and augmented reality?
Well, from a scalability standpoint, you can mock up something and you can show a few limited SKUs.
Sure.
As Jean-Marc said, with pictures. But if you're trying to do something that's scalable for your entire product line, you've got to have the connection back to the database. You've got to have the all the way from start to finish connection to make it functional. Otherwise, it's just gonna bog down.
Okay, Scott, what are you thinking?
Aligned. Yeah, you really have to ensure that it starts with the foundation of building true 3D files, not just Illustrator files or Rhino CADs of some sort, because to get to that next platform. For virtual rendering and virtual reality and augmented fit, you have to have that database that supports that from an engineering perspective, as well as taking it to the next level, putting the goggles on and being in a virtual showroom and then clicking your shoe of choice. That all has to be started with the CADs that were built in a 3D environment. So to get to those other steps, that's the best way to do it.
Okay.
And for example, if you do the 3D CAD, then you can send this file, for example, to the e-commerce website. Rather than having today probably a marketing team doing a website with 3D. It looks great for the consumer, but the design is not probably aware.
Okay. I should note too that I can probably announce this now. We haven't fully launched it yet, but Jean-Marc and Romans CAD and FDRA have been working together to do a 3D development summit. And that will be in November here in New York. I think it's November 12th and 13th. And the whole focus is one, it's helping brands understand a roadmap. Many of these discussions here, how do you start from a beginning point? How do you build that in? It's very specific to development. So we've got a design summit, and that will focus on design and sustainability and production and things like that. But in terms of development, your product development teams really need to attend this. Even if they're already doing it, there's always ways to improve and get better. And so we'll be covering a lot of in-depth stuff about how to get started with it, how to improve if you already got it. We'll be having different voices. Scott may be involved. I'm just drafting you in. So, but that's something that we'll be launching soon because, as we've said, education on this, it can be difficult to set up and think about things and how you process this and get things right, because as we just said, you have to have the right foundation before you can really start building upon it. So
just a quick comment about education. Last week in Paris, I had a meeting with the ambassador of Bangladesh. Bangladesh in the garment industry is second after China. And I visited some factory, like Yongwon in Chittagong. And I talked to the ambassador, and we agreed that they should launch a national program because it's possible in this country. You see the government and they buy 1,000 copies at reduced price of the software because they really believe now is they have to scale up in terms of knowledge and competencies.
Okay. We're about to go to audience questions. Think about the question you want to ask. I'll ask you guys quickly a speed round. You saw Material Exchange. You guys have been interacting in a bit. We've been talking a lot about it. There's been a lot of brands at the very start when we had these discussions at FN Platform 2 years ago, when we've gone through the process of building this out. How important or how how important do you think material exchange is to help solving some of these challenges, to making sure the database functions, to make sure the scans are right? Is material exchange something that every brand needs to get involved with? I mean, do you guys see this as a helpful tool? I mean, we always present it, but I always like to hear different aspects of people coming from different angles talk about what you think the return on investment would be in the platform.
I think it's essential. There's probably a select few brands that could do it on their own, where they don't need to have material exchange
Right.
because they function properly. But for the 95% of the rest of the world, having something like this that's a common denominator database that you can get this information, it's critical. And it's a resource that the more people who sign into it, the more valuable it becomes.
Okay. Scott, what do you think?
There's no way to have clean sheet costing and really understand that transparency without a database that you guys are building. When you came up with the idea 12, 18 months ago in Vegas, that was a great meeting.
Yeah.
I was pessimistic as to if we get this far, and I got to give you a high five that between you and Chris and the team, you guys had done an amazing job, and I can't wait till the folks in the audience see what you've done. It's imperative to have this kind of database because it gives you all elements of units of measure as well as from a designer's hat, all of the specific details on the leather and or materials, non-materials, textiles. The biggest thing is unless you have an army of people in a big checkbook, an open checkbook, to build this yourself in a company is devastating to resources, to time. It's not as clean as you'd like it to be. It gets murky. You discover lots of unpleasant things coming from the suppliers that have suppliers that have suppliers of suppliers. It unleashes lots of dirt, and I think it's better to just start clean, embrace and immerse with the supply chain to ensure that they partake in this as well. I think it's going to be an easy sell for the brands. It's ensuring that you go to that secondary and tertiary level of suppliers to help also onboard into this material exchange. But I think this could be a paradigm shift for the industry. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As I said previously,
Yeah.
saving time, and it's much better because if you look at, and Chris Ehler, he had a very interesting comment. If you look at what's happened in the building industry, now when you do the 3D model, you go to the vendors, you go on their website, you get the CAD file with some attributes. But obviously it's time consuming because you have to go to each vendor. What you guys are offering is much better because then you have one place of
Right.
shipping. You go one place, and you can pull out and we have the technology to pull out into our software. Okay, we've done it for decades.
Yeah.
So it's really, it will save you time and time and money, and
Right.
accuracy of the data
Right.
is one of the key factors. Because with that, you do pre-costing after.
I'll say the most fun part of the aspect of the last 2 years of helping build this and try to get there. FDRA are not experts in this. We're just helping provide the certainty and being the common denominator platform that people can trust. And we built it out to be affordable for brands and to be accessible, which means that we get to work with great partners, and someone comes with an idea, we'll figure out how to plug it in and make it work. It's open source so that anybody can pull into any system. So
I don't know if you heard, but there was an agreement between Google, Yahoo, Facebook, anyway, all these big companies, to create a data transfer.
yep.
You can switch
Yep.
data from one
Yep.
application to another one easily. So what we achieve here, it's exactly
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So questions? Come on, let's raise the hands. We probably got a Starbucks gift card for the first question. We do have a Starbucks gift card for the first question. Not
They
probably.
just want to come in November, that's all.
That's true. That's true. We'll do a in-depth kind of webinar with XRITE to help people explain it if you've not done it before. And then the development workshop, it'll be 2 days intense immersiveness into 3D development and doing that. Yeah, question over here? Yep, yes, sir. It's on. It's on.
It's on? Okay. I'm Stephen Smith, and I'm with Tingley Rubber Corporation. My question is, how does a company involved in product development decipher the choices they have in 3D CAD programs? One of the first ones you hear about is SolidWorks. I don't know that that's necessarily
Okay.
perfect for footwear design. And then you get into footwear design, more specific programs like
Rhino.
Like, yeah, I know Rhino. I hear about Rhino.
Yeah,
I
okay,
hear
sure,
about
sure.
Autodesk
Sure.
products
Sure.
and others.
First of all, SolidWorks is mainly it's a mechanical software. We're even using software when it comes to sole design. Sole design leads to a mold. Then most of our customers use SolidWorks for the sole design, for the upper and the complete model. And after that, it's a matter of managing your complete footwear with all the different components. So, and also something you have to understand, we only do CAD for footwear and bags, period. We are really specialized. We have been doing that for the last 20 years. We don't do any, obviously we're not going to compete against SolidWorks or AutoCAD. So in terms of result, in terms of productivity, we develop functionality. And as I say, we have integrated within the CAD other components, like the material database, the XRITE Pantone. So you know what we have done? You know, it's like cooking, different ingredients. We mixed, and we have a recipe. But unlike Nouvelle Cuisine, where everything in the price, nothing in the plate, with Romans CAD, you get a lot of benefit. American size. Big portion.
It's like the Cheesecake Factory. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Clay.
What's been the challenge, the biggest challenge getting material suppliers to change their paradigm shift? Not sending swatches and investing.
That's a great question. He was asking what's the biggest challenge in getting, if you want to just repeat your question for the people.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks. I was just asking, what's the biggest challenge for getting material suppliers to participate in the material exchange? Digitizing, investing?
The key word, I think, is what you just said, is investing. Who's going to invest the time? Who's going to invest the money? Is it done by the material suppliers overseas? Is it mandated by the brands? Is it a shared thing? How is that going to happen? My counterpart, who's based in Shanghai, is working the chain from the other end. He's going to the material supplier and say, here's our file format, here's our scanning system. We need you to invest in this because your brands are going to come to you very soon. I'm on the brand end. I'm trying to get them to put pressure on their suppliers. But it's the question of who invests and who pays.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
So on one end of it, when we talk to suppliers, a lot of suppliers are already trying to build their own digital systems. And the problem with that is your product development team and your designers, instead of going to their swatch books, are just going to 30 different websites instead of 30 different books. It's the same problem, it's just digitized. So yeah, you can filter faster, but you still have those stovepipes. So we tell them, you know, like the other aspect of it is the material spec requests. So even if they build these digital database things on that, it still doesn't mean that the brands can go to one source and get the spec sheet for each different brand and pull it directly into their systems. So that means that each brand has their own spec requests, and then they have to fill out that sheet and that sheet and that sheet. So then all of a sudden they're doing more administration. So we tell them, you upload one spec sheet to this website. People within the brands you already work with can go on there and you can communicate with them through the platform. You can find other people who may be looking for your product. But inevitably with the scanning issue, I think that one, it'll be companies like XRITE and other scanners are going out to Asia to sell product. I think brands are looking for ways to help their suppliers do this anyway. There's going to be a third, there'll be businesses built around this for middleware. So one thing it'll be like they'll take the stuff from the material exchange and figure out how to create software to talk to other things that we don't even know about right now. So it's middleware. And then the other aspect is there'll be people who set up scanning businesses in Asia where they say, you can bring in a material and I'll scan it for 2 cents on an XRITE machine. Or XRITE may even start their own offices over there where you can do that. We're trying to figure out how we initially create standards where they can start with an iPhone. And then as brands start to require more digitization through CADs and they start raising those up, that's when the standards start to raise. So initially, we just want to build the database so that there's some visuals, there's the specs, and then as they start to see the benefits of that, they'll start rolling those in. But I can guarantee you there'll be offices set up, there'll be businesses set up, brands will find ways to help that. We've had discussions with all the different brands about how we create this in a way that helps the supply chain. And I would say, you know, the pushback kind of goes away as soon as you explain to them they don't have to keep filling out spec sheets for everybody. And they can manage all their material operations in one spot. They don't have to have a separate Excel sheet all over the place. It's all in one spot. All your communications, all your sales teams can get on, and then they get assigned a brand. So they can talk to that brand back and forth, and there's clean communication. So they start to see that and realize, wow, this is powerful. And then eventually we're talking about trying to create QR codes for the material show. So the supplier have the QR code, you can walk by, you scan it, it goes into your library, your folder. So as you feel it, then you can scan it and you write a note as the community. You write a note like, this is fall 2019, I really like this pattern, it could be trend right. Fold it in there. Then your other team can go in, and the material team can go in and see. Flavio can say, they want this leather, and then I need to go and investigate that without an email exchange. It's kind of real-time intelligence on the brand side. But the suppliers know it's coming. A lot of suppliers are already digitizing. It's just that we need to make sure that you guys aren't looking at 40 different sites, that they're looking at one functionally, I think.
There is another option that we've seen in other industry. It's to make the format public.
Yeah.
Because the problem will be with the attributes. How do you qualify the leather, of the material? So obviously, if one company doesn't want to go into the material database of FDRA, at least they should be interoperable. The format to import from FDRA to a software A, or of the software to import from a private database to software A should be understandable by everybody. So there should be a common language between how to define a material, and that you can make that public. You publish the field, the data field, and all that is it's a recommendation. You can't force people, but that could help to remove this big IT problem of integrating data into another database.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, I think it answers the questions, but I think it also talk about a competitive advantage. If I'm a material supplier, I can leapfrog my competition if I'm willing to do this. But a big majority of the supply base can also be, introverted as well. That's the challenge we'll have to overcome.
I think one thing we've been doing is engaging with all the different associations. So we met with the China Leather Association, we met with the Vietnam associations to explain what this is. We did a webinar for all the different associations to push it out. So I think it's going down, but I think, one, it will be the brands that they work with once they're on there will help them on board. The software is such that it's simply you take their Excel sheets as currently is and you just upload it in, and then you just add the pictures. It's quite simple to really upload this into the system now. So yeah, there will be some lag and delays, but that's incumbent upon the brands to go out there and say, we really need you on this platform because this is changing how we're doing business. And then on our end, we've been engaging on the other side, trying to help them get there. And I do think there will be systems set up on the side that will help lower the cost of helping get them on the platform and getting it functional and educated. And then we've formed a partnership with the Material Show, so in Portland and in the Northeast, where all 200, 300 major footwear suppliers, all the major footwear suppliers that everybody works with will be there, and we'll be there educating them and helping them see. We have a booth that will visualize the scanning process so they can see how XRITE scans it in. We will show them the CAD process so they can understand what the brands are trying to do with it, and then we'll explain the material exchange and how they can utilize that. So we're doing step by step to help get them there so that you guys.
All right.
Step by step.
Ooh, baby, gonna get to your shoe-in show. Step by step, size 12 brand.
That's
Send
New
me
Kids on the
some
Block,
shoes
Jasmine.
for the shoe-in show.
So we did Let's Get Digital at the start. So then we fast forward about 10 years to when Jasmine was born and New Kids on the Block were hot.
Exactly.
Step by step, baby.
Yeah.
Interesting. I know the song previous. I don't know the song when I
Oh,
was born.
interesting. That is interesting.
What's 10 years in advance? Is it like Backstreet Boys or something?
No, I was alive and well in Backstreet Boys.
All right. Don't. We just made a really good show about digitization get really weird really quickly.
No,
So
everyone's forgotten what the panel even said.
They were hot when I was hot.
The panel?
Backstreet Boys.
what year was that?
I don't know, like early 2000s.
That's what I was.
In the
That's
90s.
what you said. Fast forward 10
Yeah,
years.
when
from
was
now.
New Kids on the Block? 92?
90, 91,
Well,
92.
I just came out into the world. I made my,
I can't really tell you what came up in 2010.
my
I don't
welcome
even
into the
know.
world.
Yeah, I think Jasmine's mom was driving around listening to New Kids on the
Probably.
Block, and she was in
In her
utero.
caddy.
and-
Probably.
She was rolling in a caddy till Jasmine came, and she had to downgrade because she had to She had to
She was
pay for
actually
all
driving
her
a
daughter's
Corvette.
shoes.
That was
Corvette.
And then she downgraded. She's like, Jasmine shoes. Gotta get Jasmine shoes now.
Man, how this has anything to do with digitization, I have no idea, but
Definitely took a turn.
it did.
Well, to turn it back, man. So this idea of digitization and kind of using 3D technologies
Right.
and online software to kind of trim up process and cut costs and that increase transparency, increase line of sight. We had XRITE talking about how you can have almost a digital twin of materials that you can see visually on your computer, not have to have it in hand per se until you're ready to sample
that's
and
cool.
feel it. You had Scott Labby, who was formerly with Wolverine, who talked about how they've digitized their whole process and development and are getting there. It's a long-term play, but they're getting there to speed up their speed to market. And one of the tools that they're using is Romans CAD, which is a 3D design software that actually lays out the patterns so that when you send a tech pack to China, there's no question. It's not a 2D sketch. It's actually a full tech pack that they send over there. And then, of course, at the end, we kind of talked about material exchange. We talked a lot about, and I'm really excited that we have a lot of brands starting to adapt that and move into that as they update their the ability for their designers and developers to look and search and filter by material. And so it's great for brands, but it's also really good for suppliers. I think the suppliers oftentimes get left out.
Right.
Suppliers are critical because they're the ones who help us not make mistakes.
Totally critical.
We're like, we want to do this. And they're like, no, that won't execute.
Right.
The quality's not there. That can't happen. So we really want to help the suppliers just as much as we help the brands create a stronger ecosystem as we all get digital.
Let's get digital. I want to get out of this episode.
Gong. I think we just got gonged out.
Totally.
All right. Well, folks, as always, we try to focus on the key trends impacting our industry. We hope you enjoyed the conversation that we had earlier this year. As we look forward to the new year, please let us know if there's topics that you would like us to cover, if there are guests that you would like to have us on, if you would like to be a guest. Please rate us. Please
rate
give
us.
us however many stars are allowed to give stars.
5.
And then one more.
We accept no less.
You can hit us up at Shoe and Show. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. shoeandshow.com is our website. You can go back to our whole catalog. We've been doing this for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2.5 years. So we have well over 100 episodes now, and most of that content is still fresh. Some of the issues are still around. Definitely go back and listen to some of the shoe stories from some of the executives. Those are always a favorite pastime. And with that, on behalf of Jasmine and Matt, I'm Andy, and this is Shoein, and Shoein is out.
Shoein has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.